done so you can get off on your tour. And congratulations enormously on the book and all the good work. And welcome very, very much to Manhattan Network and to public access cable television. And in the audience, welcome very, very much to the program. Our guest for this segment is Peter Hesse. He's a very interesting person who has had a great deal, he's had a long and distinguished business career, and we're going to talk some about that, but he's also had visions, and he's also written of social, political, and economic responsibility for some of the least advantaged people within the world society, which is very admirable and altogether too lacking, in my humble opinion, among the business leadership. And he's also written, let me just hold it up for a second here, Peter. He's written a book recently, just published now, as we talked to you on October 29th of 2009, called Vision Works. And we're going to be talking and showing some pictures from this book and talking to the book. And Peter Hesse, welcome very, very much on this October 29th, which I'll go ahead and make a point that it is exactly 60 years to the date that we experienced in the United States Black Tuesday, October 29th, 1929, the bottom of what was then seen as the looming Great Depression. So it's 80 years ago that we were in that situation and marked the date and everything, but welcome very, very much to conversation. Share with me, if you would, I'd like to do that, your own background, born and raised, and some of your education, life's experience, and then we'll talk about the many things that I know we're able to talk about, but please share your background.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't believe it, I was born in New York due to the simple fact that my grandfather had listened to this Mr. Hitler in 1932, just before he came to power, and he realized that something is going to be real bad in Germany. And he sent my father, I wasn't there yet, nobody thought of me, sent my father to America to start a color manufacturing business here, subsidiary of our own in Germany.
Yeah, because go ahead.
This was a family tradition. We have, I'm the fourth generation in this old company, and it's not a huge company, it's a traditional family company, and at the time my father was the third generation and I'm the fourth, and so he was encouraged by my grandfather to start the second outfit here in America, together with our former representatives, the family Grumbacher, and they still exist.
Yeah, and you have a company, it's called
Schminke. That was my granduncle.
Schminke.
Yeah, Schminke.
Does that have a literal meaning or not?
No,
it's
it's my granduncle.
Oh, it's your great uncle
who
founded the company. And what it is, the manufacture of, for people who are in the artist community.
Oh, they will know it. The good ones will know it.
It's high quality artistic paint that is used by artists to create works like that. It's not wallpaper or wall paint.
I have a good reason to be proud of this because I didn't start this to be good. I just had to continue to make it also good. And this became my commitment while I was in business to continue the tradition of my forefathers in a top quality, and that's what we did. And after the war we came back to America, we got the name back, and we started here, and well, we are not hugely present here because it's very high quality and very special. But top shops have it. Watercolors and oils.
Water and oil,
and pastels.
And it's interesting you were brought here because in 32, that was before the election of 33.
Exactly.
Before the Reichstag fire and all that. So somebody was prescient, they could see it coming, right?
Well, and then the reason why this happened was because my grandmother is Jewish. And my grandfather, knew that this was going to be bad. But when my grandfather died, who had nothing to do with the Jewish background, but then you realized that my grandmother was alone in Germany, and that wasn't good. So they brought me back as soon as I was old enough to be carried, 3 months old.
You were only 3 months when we went back to Germany, okay.
And so that's how we got stuck in Germany in the wartime. And it was quite a strange thing because I don't want to go into
it must have been,
Well, we got the bombs from on top, and we got the Nazi threat from the field.
You would have been too young to be very cognizant of it.
I'm a quarter Jew. This doesn't count for the Nazis. They're very bureaucratic. My father had to go hiding at the end.
Where did that come from, that strong anti-Semite? It's a big subject. I don't mean any depth, but Hard to understand quite where that came from. Do you have any understanding of it, having lived through it?
There's a big tradition in anti-Jewish believing in many cultures. But in Germany, it was reinforced due to this crazy man, Hitler, who had some personal incidents, one thinks. One doesn't really know.
Right, right.
He was completely
irrational.
Yeah, and misled on this horrible track.
Yeah.
But the most horrible thing is that the majority or a big group of Germans followed him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for me now one reason to change, because to change things in the world, because I think this is something which must never happen again. And especially because on the other side of my family, my mother's side, I had a grandfather who was a follower of Hitler in the beginning.
Right.
And many decent people followed him in the beginning. But they should have seen it quickly that it was getting bad.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible story, but I mean, this is a typical mix-up family situation.
Right. Yeah.
And later, when I realized what had happened, I got to start to think.
Yeah, when you got older. Yeah.
That made me wonder, and made this probably one of the underlying motivations for me to start being active in the world.
I see. Okay, very good. And you were growing up. You were during that wartime period.
I was a baby.
Where were you? Let's see. You 45. How old were you in 1945 by the time the end of war came?
I was born in 1937.
So you were
I was
8.
just six, 7.
Yeah,
I was still seeing people shooting themselves up in the sky, the planes shooting themselves. I saw it myself.
Yeah, it was terrible. The terrible devastation rained down. Firebombing of Dresden, all kinds of things that were going on.
Every night we had to go
it was horrible.
The basement.
Very hard, yeah.
Yeah, but other people had even worse fates.
Yeah,
Those who came from the east, this was even worse.
Yeah.
So the people had created this situation in the war, the Germans, so later they suffered themselves. But this doesn't make the war look better, you know.
It was a terrible war, awful,
horrible.
And it was awful that what went on, because they have things like they had this strong anti-Semitic tinge that Mr. Hitler was imbued with, but they also had, like, the Versailles Treaty was unfair. There were things coming out of history that could be unexplained. But certainly something we want to avoid among the nations of the world if we possibly can, with the weapons that are ever so much more destructive now than they were then.
And right now there are good directions here in the anti-armament movement, especially anti-atomic and so on. This is a good thing which happens now. And there is much more to be done in the world in this direction. And my life was led in a way that I now try with everything I can to share in this, change process. And to say this right away, I mean, we are delighted, my friends and I am delighted about your new president.
Yeah, and I know we want to talk about it. He's very favorably seen in Europe.
Absolutely, because, he has these he has visions with the value.
And he's intelligent.
Yeah, but for us, it's the content of what
form a declarative sentence.
Sure, but I mean, many people are intelligent, but he has also the content of his intelligence is high value, and they're positive and good, and they're peaceful and loving, and people must not be afraid that all visions cannot be put into reality immediately. I have myself had visions all my life.
I know.
And not all worked.
Your life.
When I grew up.
I want to go back a little bit to after you come out of school. You went to gymnasium, you went to university and that sort of thing as you were a young man and everything, and then you took over the business, I guess. So you were a business for a long time, a businessman, the head of this company.
Yeah, but first I had to learn something real, because my studies were very theoretical.
Theoretical in what?
Well, just not usable in practice.
No
soft skills.
No.
Just hard stuff, theory.
Theory, there's a lot of different theories. There's economic theory. Yeah, but you studied economics.
Mostly
you did do economics.
Yeah, but useless.
You think so?
Yeah,
I'd like to take exception with that. I think the fallacies of the fallacies, if there are fallacies, and there are problems in the world, it largely comes through our adherence to historically inherited institutions that are political, but also they used to be called political economy. It's all informed by economics, and the economics are, in an underlying way, the theoretical framework of understanding economic theory informs the political process. I think economic theory is very impossible.
Yeah, but don't misunderstand me. I'm not against economics. I'm against what we studied as students in Germany in these traditional economics.
What did you study? Something other than what we would have done
in international? For example, the theory of deciding. was strictly theoretical, as if someone had made a rational decision and this rational decision would be executed. The reality is different. To find a solution, it's a series of failures and of advances, and so on, one step back and two steps ahead. The reality is very different.
The practical reality.
Plus, we young, how do you call this, when you finish your studies, right? Graduates.
Yeah.
We were all very proud we had learned something. And I went into my family's business and only make stupidities.
Yeah, but you went into the business. You don't have to be very theoretical to do business. It's a skill. It's a skill set to do business. But I'm wondering, did you then study Adam Smith and Ricardo and Marx and Schumpeter and all the rest of the canon of what they call economic theory, or not?
Of course, I
did
had this also.
And you said you were being taught in Germany with economics that were flawed. At a systemic level?
Economics which were not usable in practical life, certainly not in the private business. Maybe in a big company, you know, as the assistant of the top person, you could use this.
No, or to understand the geopolitical realities of the world, because the whole political process is informed. We have a politician named Tip O'Neill. He was a famous politician in our Congress, and he famously said at one time, all politics are local. That is, people are locally oriented. All politics are economic, in my view. So economics and the way in which we're going to form capital, we're going to distribute demand and capability to the people is of the essence, and I don't think, for whatever it's worth, we have a good enough understanding of the problems that exist by our accepting certain notions of economic theory that are not what the future requires, because we've made a big transformation from just even in the last 40 or 50 years, and that's not been taken into account by our leadership. Business, governmental, or academic.
I'm with you that globally, of course, economics and also economic learning is important. I'll tell you what was not okay for us, not only for me.
Good.
We didn't learn anything about management, concrete management, goal setting, planning, communicating, leading. All this was leadership.
What did you learn?
Theories.
Yeah, but did you then Ricardo, comparative advantage, Schumpeter, Adam Smith? Did you learn that? Did you study the Austrian school, that kind of thing? What did you learn in the name of economics? I'm sorry.
It was a bundle of things which, as a private business person, you could not use in running your business.
I understand. You're telling me what it wasn't. What was it?
Well,
For example, you took a degree, a master's or a master's in economics,
I could have,
and it was all economic theory.
Yeah, but
were you informed? Were you inspired by any particular vision, like Mr. Nixon at one time, Sid? We're all Keynesians now. John Maynard Keynes. Were you inspired by any? Were you inspired at all by Karl Marx? Were you inspired in terms of your understanding of the human condition by an economic theory?
Of course, I'll give you an example, Karl Marx. Karl Marx's basic idea that everything changes was great, was nice. But then Karl Marx didn't go through with his own idea. He said once he reaches this socialism, then nothing changes anymore. So that was not logical, no? No, but I tell you what I used in my studies. And I had the benefit of the first real humane marketing professor. That was good. And I became, in the follow-up, after initiating myself with other people who also believed that we didn't learn enough, we initiated...
of a practical nature.
Of a practical nature. We had a whole bunch of young presidents, President's Organization, which I was quickly elected local president.
Because you were running the company.
Well, not in the beginning. I was the marketing slave of my father.
Okay. Well, that is not the first time that's happened in a family and so forth. But you went to gymnasium, and then you went to university. You took a bachelor's in economics all the time, and a master's.
I became president of the company only after establishing my own profession.
Yes.
And that was marketing and management teaching.
I see.
Because that was new.
Why didn't you go, instead of studying economics through the master's, theoretical economics, which can be just so boring, it can be and everything, why didn't you go to something like we would have, MIT or Harvard Business School and study marketing and those kind of things where they teach in the business school?
Well, that's a good point, because little later this was open to us Germans.
It wasn't really open readily.
Not really in practical use yet.
Okay.
But we did indeed. I studied techniques of training in England.
Okay.
Because it didn't exist in Germany.
You went to England after the master's?
Okay. Postgraduate
work.
Where'd
you go?
or we had these in Oxford and Cambridge. We had these summer courses.
You were at Oxford and Cambridge in
the summer courses,
right?
To learn to be management teachers, trainers.
Okay, there you were getting into management. You were getting into practicalities rather than just theoretical.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
And that's what I sold for good money. It was fun because I got as much per day as I got from my father the whole month.
Yeah, I see. They gave you freedom, huh? Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, sure. And I wanted to have some myself.
How do you say freedom in German? Freiheit. Yes.
Great word.
Freiheit.
And then
you were into your element that you were more comfortable with than you had been within the. Was it a family impetus that you studied economics so diligently as an undergraduate and even into the master's degree? That's a lot of study.
Yeah, but
it wasn't your inclination.
No,
Did you feel it was against your inclination? Were you bored by it or what?
Yes, my studies were great because we learned skiing. We could go dancing. We could flirt. It was a fantastic studying
Good beer in October.
Yes, and there were some professors who had a humane touch, like my marketing professor.
Yes,
and we learned some social knowledge, basic. We went abroad in other fields of studies, for getting something which we liked.
That's always good, isn't it?
It may be my stupidity that I didn't like the economics. I don't say anything basically.
I don't think you're the first person that didn't like economics.
Okay.
With cost-benefit curves and all that kind of
theoretical
charts up the wazoo.
I even developed something myself in this direction, but this was only to play with the theory to make something out of it.
Wasn't your family encouraging you that way? Was your family? No.
My family, they had enough other problems after the war to rebuild everything.
I imagine it must have been hard.
In Germany, after the war, my father was a true pioneer. He had to start a new business because our own business was flat.
It was flat? You had to build it up? You still had the name, you had the trademark, you had all the
to get money
patents.
for that. We got the Marshall Plan help.
Right, that did
Very
help.
good.
That was an important development, wasn't
incentive.
it? Yeah,
But then we had something else. He imported American products, like Output Motors, for example. And this was totally innovative. And you didn't need management, and you didn't need economics for that purpose.
No, you don't know. It's practical.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference between theoretical and practical.
Yeah. But again, I don't want to leave the impression here as if I don't like economics. But for our purposes, it needed to be more practical.
Right.
And that's what I did.
Do you find that in your life's experience that serves you well to be practically minded in terms of your foundation work and things we're going to get to?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so you're a practically minded person.
When I was younger, I was only practical minded. It's only later I discovered there's something else.
Vision
and
I
must say also divine guidance.
Okay, that gets into a whole other realm.
Yeah, but this is very important.
Yeah,
there's no contradiction.
Yeah. And you were at Hamburg, the summer classes, but you did take over the reins of the family business.
Only after I had my own management teaching profession, and I could come to my father and say, now, if you don't make a contract that I become president next to you of the company, I'll be gone.
Yeah, right.
Because I had an offer from a big company to do all their management training. It was very tempting.
Yeah, right. I bet it would have been.
But then on the other hand, the product is beautiful, our product, and it.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
I like the family tradition too. Yes. And he was you were able to be practical and assume a position of responsibility for a company that kept you busy for quite a long time in the management and growth of the company.
I really don't want to insist too much on this period. It was a good period. I liked this work, but I really discovered something much more important in the course of doing this.
Yes.
And my life became really, for myself, senseful. Senseful is not a good English word. I discovered my sense in life.
Your sense or purpose.
My purpose in life.
Purposeful,
my purpose in life. Much later. And in the beginning, I was successful with my management training.
Yeah. Right.
And I went in politics, and in the politics, I had some ambitions. I thought it's good to be in Parliament, and I applied for Parliament candidacy. Barely, I lost, but just
by a little
narrow.
bit. Yeah, right. I understand. Yeah,
and, so that was an experience because I think politics are very important, and values in politics are even more important.
Yes, they are.
And I wanted to bring in. Well, that was my idealism.
Yes, idealism isn't so bad in the youth. I don't think it's so bad in the older people either. I think there should be more people with idealism because I think we need some of that, and you did it. You had some experiences, and if I may, I don't want to get out of sync here, but you had been doing this successful traveling, that sort of thing with the business and doing that, found your niche as a practically oriented business person and so forth. But then you also had, if I'm not mistaken, I've read a good deal of the book, and you had an experience that was like a spiritual event, but you also, if I'm not mistaken, you were attracted to the rhythms of the Caribbean.
Yes.
Now, can you put some of all that together?
Well,
that
very
is the
short.
transition?
Very short. In the book, of course, it takes a few pages, but it's very simple. I used to be a skier and go every Christmas. Wow, we all were decent skiers.
All good, yeah.
Decent.
Okay, yeah.
And Christmas, family fest, and after the family, midnight after the 24th, off to the train in the mountains to go skiing.
Yes, right.
And 30 years ago, roughly.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather. I went to St. Moritz.
Yeah.
First morning, in the morning, 25th of December. I fell down, broke my arm.
No.
Total frustration.
Wow, yeah.
So I said, next year, no more skiing. I'll have to go to a warm country, Caribbean. Because I like the music.
You recovered from the injury, okay?
Well, it's still a bit there, but
yeah, okay, yeah.
But
well, maybe that put you in a good direction because it got you down in the Caribbean.
Well, the Caribbean was sort of an introduction to something more serious.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then
you hadn't been there before. Had you been in the what's other than the developed world before that much?
Yes, for the company I traveled, of course.
You had traveled in India or in Africa or in Latin America.
More in the northern and western countries.
I see. Okay. Yeah. More in the industrialized countries where the art is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And but then my travel in the world were always also. I had always a few extra weekends and days when you are president later. Then it was, of course, possible to extend this a little bit.
Sure, of course.
It's always a mix.
Yeah, right. Of course it is.
Learning and seeing and doing good work at the same time.
Right.
Anyway,
you were going to the Caribbean after breaking your neck
but
or your arm at St.
First of all, I was in a very harmless island with many tourists. I didn't really dare to go deep down. But then...
Which harmless island?
That was Barbados.
Barbados?
Yeah, lots of tourists.
Yeah, lots of tourists. Too many.
And then in the night, there was a local festival. Only local people.
And Barbados?
Yeah, only on...
Is that an island, Barbados? Is that yeah, it is.
No, excuse me, I mixed up. The Barbados was later, and the Bahamas was this
Bahamas,
initial
that's
thing.
what I'm thinking, yeah.
And they had this junkanoo. Christmas night and New Year's night.
It's a festival like
Yes, only the local people.
Yeah, only local.
I had a lady friend in the hotel. We got up in the middle of the night when this happens.
And there's rhythm.
No more other white people there.
Right.
Only the locals.
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I got caught by the music and it's this whoof.
Didn't you get up in a tree 3 meters high and take some photographs or something? And you were just overwhelmed by the music, right?
Yeah.
And the movement.
Yeah.
And the joy,
This created some... fantastic feeling in my stomach.
Nothing like Oktoberfest or something. No.
But then from there on, I dared to go deeper down in the Caribbean, other islands.
Also into that realm of the rhythms and so forth.
During the Christmas
and
holidays.
You found you could move pretty good, I understand. You were able to dance pretty good.
If you like that rhythm.
Yes, and you did.
Then you free your hips.
Yeah, yes, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a very good thing.
I had to overcome this male prejudice, a man cannot move his hips. But after I got this done, then it was real fun.
Was this before or after Elvis?
Off Elvis. No. We had African drum and dance teachers in Germany.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
From
it
Ghana.
Really is. The rhythms that come from the Caribbean are just, or from Africa. For that matter.
Yeah, in this
from
case,
Africa,
these were African drumming and dancing teachers, and I went to their weekend courses, and you get loosened up by the way.
Yeah, right.
And then in the Caribbean, well, I don't want to extend this too much because it's just a period which led me finally to the wonderful music of Haiti.
Haiti, yeah.
That was in 1980.
1980, okay, that's 29 years ago.
It took some years before I reached this
And you used to go on vacation there. You spent quite a bit of time there.
Just a short...
And you were attracted to that.
Because the music was fantastic.
The music is what got you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good.
The rhythm, really.
Yes,
and
right.
It was fantastic. But immediately when I got there, and Haiti is really a desperate situation.
I know this, I understand, yeah.
And then, of course, in the daytime, you can't dance. And then I walked around and I was approached by some people, young men who told me that they have a problem. They have, how do you call this, children without parents and so.
I know.
Orphanage.
Yeah, orphanage, yeah.
And where the children lie on the floor and nothing to eat and so on. I didn't really believe them, but I thought they had nothing to do.
Terrible poverty.
Yeah, and so I went along with them, and that was shocking. That was my second wake-up call. And I said, you cannot just come for dancing to a country like that.
But it was still good dancing going on by those
in the first years, yes.
In Haiti.
First 1 or 2 years still. Later I went to Haiti by now 43 times.
Yeah. Oh, you have?
Oh,
My
sure.
Lord, you're practically a citizen.
After that.
Yeah.
Because now it completely changed. No more dancing.
Wait a minute. There was Papa Doc and all that. It had to do with the political context?
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with us, with the tourists.
With tourists. That didn't affect, right?
No.
43 times you've been to Haiti? My Lord, you're a citizen almost, you know. It's your adopted country, right?
Well, I lost my heart there for this work.
I lost my heart in Haiti.
I wouldn't go that far because it's also partly very frustrating.
Okay.
It's a mixture of, you know, you can get something done when you do it right. In the beginning, I did not do it right. I had to first learn.
Do what? Are you talking about the foundation?
All right.
No.
When I went to this first orphanage, I realized I have to help somehow.
You wanted to help. You had
This was nothing to do with spiritual motivation or anything. I just felt bad.
You hadn't had a spiritual experience.
Not at all at the beginning.
Okay.
I was just...
You were a playboy like her then?
Not really, but I enjoyed my life.
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
good wine, good dancing.
Yeah, good.
Sure.
Ladies,
but playboy is something else. I was doing hard work also.
Okay, yeah. Well, you were running a company too. Yeah.
But I mean, this for me is no contradiction.
Okay.
No?
Okay, good. Good.
But still now, serious work and good wine goes very well together.
Not bad, right.
Only the wine gets a little better.
And the rhythms are still good.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Only I don't have time and possibility of much dancing
anymore.
Can't
move the hips that much like you used to when you were a kid.
No, but in Haiti, it turned completely differently than I really
Because
had
of the political?
No, because of the poverty and my being caught by wanting to do something and then realizing that I didn't do it right.
So you were trying, you took it upon yourself to do, you have a foundation, Peter Hesse Foundation.
Later.
That was later. But you were trying to help alleviate
out of
the
a bad feeling.
Out of the bad feeling of the poverty that was so evident to you.
It just struck me, and it will strike everybody who gets confronted with it.
Okay.
I'm absolutely sure that I was not in a special position.
You don't think there are people who could just walk past that and not be concerned at all?
If there are people who walk by, if people walk by in that situation, they're not okay.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of people that aren't okay.
Normal people cannot walk by in this situation.
Do you think there's a lot of people who are doing very well, thank you, and they don't care about the people who aren't doing well?
But then they don't even go and expose themselves. If you get exposed to this radical sadness, it touches you.
That's perhaps more than you've been to other places?
No.
Have you? Yeah, I understand. Have you been to other places where there was something like it, or was it in a class by itself, the poverty and the need?
In my business, for example, when I'm in Venezuela or in Brazil, like on business before, there are also slums, but I never was really in the slums.
Yeah.
I saw it and I thought, terrible, but it didn't touch me inside too much.
Right.
But then in Haiti, when I was there and I saw this, and I was really in that misery, then it touched me. And then I started doing things out of my logical mind. And that was not good.
You're trying to deal with the logic. Okay,
yeah, well, I did what I had done in Germany, a management seminar in a village. It wasn't completely wrong, but it was what I thought I should do.
Right. Okay.
It was not completely wrong, but it was still relatively far from being ideal. And because there was no educational base for doing this kind of management teaching.
Right, you were going to try and dictate to them.
Well,
in a certain, it's sort of like a colonial attitude.
A little bit,
right.
But not in that
been
spirit.
A lot of that
not in
Europe.
That spirit. I really wanted to help.
No, I know, but you know what I'm saying. It was sort of like, what do you call it, noblesse oblige or something like that. And it wasn't people-centered, it wasn't children-centered as you were going to get with the education.
Yet.
Yeah, right.
Because then we
and that's a big change. Yeah.
When I made my first, it's in the book, my first mistakes. Because I think everybody makes such mistakes.
Oh, sure.
There's no shame to talk about it.
Yeah, you can learn by mistakes.
Exactly, and that's why I wrote it in the book.
Yes, sir.
But of course, later it became successful. But I had to first humbly sit down in the village, under the tree, literally under the big tree.
Under the tree, yeah.
Yeah, I still have the pictures of that.
Yeah,
and
we're going to show some pictures, yeah.
And then we listened to the population in the village.
Yeah.
And what came out of there in a process of lengthy discussions was that the worst situation for them is the fate of their children. So I found it the very first, I was told it was the first one, UNICEF told me it's the first country kindergarten so far from the cities. I didn't know that, but innocently we created this kindergarten.
In that country?
in that country. There were kindergarten in cities, but not in the countryside.
Right.
And UNICEF came. We asked them for help to select the 40 poorest children, because I didn't dare to interfere with this.
Yeah.
They have their measurements, you know.
And how to identify them.
And then I met, I would say, some instance sent me a person, a specialist in early childhood, a Montessorian. My partner, Carol, from Trinidad, a Montessori teacher. We just finished her studies in London. I met her in Trinidad in Carnival.
Right, okay. Were you dancing?
Of course, in
Carnival. You got out in the street and danced?
In costume,
you put in a costume and all? Is there a picture of you in that?
Yeah.
With Carol, I think?
Yes.
All looking very happy at the carnival time.
I don't have to hide that, no?
No. You don't have to hide anything. Life is very rich and very inspiring.
Well, you see, if you like that kind of music.
I do. I love it, don't you?
All right. Then it draws you to Trinidad sometime, because they have the best.
Trinidad, I've never been there. It's worth going there, right? It's
Carnival.
really a great place.
Carnival.
Yeah. Carnival's better there than Rio?
Yes. I was once in Rio, just watching. You want to be in the crowd. You have a costume, you buy yourself a costume, you go in a group, and you've immediately won.
In Trinidad.
Sure,
Tobago,
it's fantastic.
It's part of Tobago.
Tobago is a little bit more touristic, but main island.
Okay, good. Okay.
Anyway,
she's
Carol,
from there, and she's a Montessorian. We want to talk about that.
And I had no idea about that, but then she came along. And she had just started this kindergarten, and then when I met, and then she
with the help of UNICEF, right?
No, not help. UNICEF was asked by me to select the poorest children. It was my own initiative.
I see. And that's who you were going to try and serve.
That's how I realized that it was the first kindergarten.
Had you had a spiritual experience?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, go ahead.
Wait. It doesn't come so quick.
You're still at the level of Peter Hesse.
I'm still at the level of doing this.
Hip swinger.
Well, hip swinger, and I wanted to get something done, and also it's a certain pride to do something right, and then I had to learn, hey, I didn't do it right, I have to first learn. It's a process.
Right, exactly,
And then when it came to children's work, then this Carol came, and we started Montessori. And it still wasn't spiritual in any sense. It was just, then we realized this method is good. And we tested it. It works for the children. Fantastic.
Okay, I wonder if this is the time where we could say then she's a partner of yours. Then?
Still, she's married to a white American now, and I spoke at their marriage.
Okay.
And she's still my partner, and he allows her to come to Haiti twice or 3 times a year.
I don't mean to pry or anything. Your family? You got kids, children?
No,
you haven't.
We were very close friends, but then she married someone else.
Yeah.
And we stayed friends, of course.
Right, okay, good. And worked together in a partnership way on this idea of the Montessori.
Since 1982, 83 when I met her.
Was it important for you to learn about the lessons of the Montessori idea and philosophy of education?
Yes.
And you learned that from her?
I learned
and is that an important part of your life's experience?
Yes, and I found that it is interesting because my management training was also starting from concrete to abstract.
Okay.
And this is what happens to the children in Montessori. It's all very concrete, child-centered, of course, and management training without being student-centered, impossible. In management training, you also work with the individual.
Yeah.
In management training.
You do?
Of course. A good management training is acting on a basis person to person in training.
Good management.
Yes.
I used to serve in the United States Army as a private, and I used to try and explain to the sergeants, the drill sergeants, about how we could do things democratically and be soldier-centric. They didn't want to hear it at all.
All right. It's a different story.
Yeah.
But
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the corporations, a lot of them run that way. Isn't there an awful lot of fascistic tendency within large corporate structures with a senior vice president, and it's all top-down authoritarian and that kind of thing?
In modern new companies, it just doesn't work that way.
Is that right?
No, there's a change also in the last years.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
And the new management theories, mostly developed also in America, are really more correct in this sense.
Okay.
But anyway, at the time when I was doing this, there was no other way of doing it like this.
Yeah.
From my humble, simple background of management teaching.
Right.
But it coincides with Montessori, because Montessori is really taking the child in the center.
Okay, share with us Montessori. Where did it come from? When did it?
Maria Montessori is an Italian first doctor, female doctor, about 100 years ago.
100 years ago, had a philosophy of education.
And what she did simply is observe children. She found
that's a great thing.
Close observation, she found how children learn. They learn by themselves.
Oh, they
just have to have an environment. There's a proper environment, and I don't want to go into details here, but I mean, some framework conditions are necessary. But then there's a good mix of gentle guidance, observation, and free work. And this free work is very carefully designed by Maria Montessori. And in the meantime, I don't think there's anything better now. There are others who do something comparable. Some call it different.
Waldorf?
Yeah, Waldorf is if you're anthroposoph, fine.
That's if also, you're what?
You have to be a Steiner follower, anthroposoph.
Rudolph's anthroposophy, yeah, right.
And they have also child-centered methods.
Yeah, they do, I think. Yeah. But particularly, is it widespread in the world now, Montessori, or not?
Both are.
Is it radically different than the normal policies of? Remember Dickensian England, where they would hit them on the stick.
But this was still happening in Haiti. This was happening in Europe also.
Yeah, right.
It's not that this.
I think it happens in the world. There are a lot of people who are authoritarian. In their makeup, and they think if you spare the rod, spoil the child. You know that philosophy?
They still think like this in Haiti.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have changed this mentality now.
Okay, you have.
I mean, this sounds big, but I mean, we have managed to create a nucleus of. After all, we have trained 800 teachers, over
Good
800.
For you, really, over
Haitian
the longer
teachers, over these years.
Yeah, and then they can spread the word.
If I say we trained, Carol trained.
Carol did, and you supported her in that, right? Okay, with the foundation, you set up a foundation.
Then I set up a foundation after 3 years of humble activity there and learning. I realized that I have to stabilize the whole thing.
Can we show some pictures out of your book?
Sure.
Are there some you've been talking about? Are there pictures you could tell me, and I'll hold them up?
Oh, one important one is
maybe show Carol
it's
or whatever you got. Whatever you
you
want. You tell me. But we're going to do this, and you can talk to these.
All right. There's a
now let me hold it.
Okay. This left page.
This thing up at the top, over on this page at the top. If you can come in on it, Willie, and you can come in tight on it, and then you can talk to it. Okay.
There's this circle. Without this addition here, the circle alone is what I derived when I was becoming a management teacher.
Okay.
Because there was no management theory, and I'm not against theory, I was again the other old theory.
I see.
This is, a visualization of a management cycle. Goal setting, planning, organization, etc. And then later...
Can you explain this chart or this circle?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a linear function.
Right, okay.
Management is always... rotating. It's better like a spiral.
Okay.
But I mean, here I had it flat, and then later when I had my spiritual awakening, I must say, but we didn't talk about that, but anyway, this is the result. I added to the management circle, I say desired and accepted spiritual guidance.
Okay, so you accepted, you converge the two in a sense.
Yeah, but there's no contradiction.
No, there is not in you.
No, because on the one side I feel inspired by my inner voice. Or you may call it God, whatever it is.
Okay, we'll get to it.
I don't know what it is. It's something which cannot be described.
Yeah, that probably means it's authentic, that you don't know for sure what it is. There's an authenticity in that.
I don't link myself to any specific dogmatic religion.
Can we go to another image, or has this been explained, or you want to do?
It's important. It's one of my preferred images that I combine desired and accepted spiritual guidance with management. And there's one, the newest, my preferred model in the book is the spiral. I think I put a paper in here. Hope I find it.
Well, okay.
Anyway, no, I don't find it. Yes, here it is.
Here it is. We found it, everybody. Yeah. Okay, here's the spiral. There's two spirals.
Yeah, this is an artistic transformation. We cannot read anything.
Both pages, maybe.
Artistic transformation, but this is my learning spiral, as I call it.
Okay.
It used to be, first of all, also a round, flat model.
Okay.
But then this is how I see life going.
It's a spiral, yeah.
A spiral.
Right.
It starts with early childhood, care and education.
Right.
Then it becomes more developing cognitive and emotion and social learning. Student-centered again, and that's when global consciousness is developing, and then life integrates.
When you're in a teenage or something, or
well, I mean, this is a spiral for all life.
Oh, for all life, I see. Okay.
And in some stage nowadays, I feel everybody has to develop a global consciousness.
I think that's right.
That's a statement.
Because it's the truth, whether you want to or not. If you're not conscious of it, it's still there as part of the reality.
Exactly. This is one of my key things: is we are one world in diversity.
Thank you. That's very important. It's one system. Everything,
well,
the ecology
and
everything. Yes.
We are one world.
That's right. That's right.
And there's even much more than a world. Then we have our whole universe.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, this is, of course, wow, this is a little... But I still included also cosmic consciousness.
Okay.
Because once you realize that we funny human beings are sort of right in the middle between those tiny
microbes,
the quantum, which are so tiny you cannot imagine it.
Right.
The basic substance of everything, which is, by the way, it's in some way living. It's neither.
You're talking by bacteria? Or?
No, far smaller. The quantum.
Small.
The quantum. How do you call this in English?
I don't know.
Quantum theory. That's the
quantum?
tiniest.
Quantum?
The quantum. Yeah, the tiniest substance of everything. We are at the same time wave and substance.
Okay.
Depending on how you see it. And they are not purposeless. Somehow, it's a very delicate question.
It is. It very is.
There's no contradiction to Darwin.
Is there an arrow to evolution? That's a big question.
No. Evolution is still valid, but this is an addition thing which integrates.
Okay.
And then on the other side, we have this incredible cosmic dimension, which we start slowly now to understand. And we humans are right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's incredible if you realize this.
It is incredible.
And that brings,
reality.
if you think in these dimensions, you automatically come to some cosmic consciousness.
Okay, have you illustrated what you wanted with this that I'm holding
this
up?
is my
What
spiral.
about over in this page? What is this page?
This is the same thing with an artistic view.
With an artistic presentation.
I should maybe just mention the upper part of the spiral, the end. I'm now at the end of my active life. And what I consider important now is praising, saying thank you, and share experience with learners.
And passing on.
Passing on. That's the purpose of my book. No? And at the same time, for myself, meditate, receive in silence. What's I write here?
Okay.
And then live consciously.
Any other pictures in here that you want to get? You got a picture of Carol?
Yes.
Let's show Carol. She's so important in that Montessori system of... Here we go.
Carol on a horse on the way to a country project.
Here's Carol, who was she was from Trinidad?
She is from Trinidad.
She's
in Haiti right now.
But studied in
London.
In Montessori.
Yeah. She's right now in Haiti.
Spell out a little bit difference, the distinctive characteristic of Montessori as a philosophy of education.
First of all, it's child-centered, putting child in the center of attention in learning. And there's some criteria. For example, it's a mixed age group.
Is it a philosophy of life that is people-centered? Suppose you're going through life as an adult, you're not dealing with children, you could deal with adults, but you could also be...
No, it's not the same thing, I think. Maria Montessori was a very spiritual person, which is very often not recognized, but it's not dogmatic in this true sense, in this sense. But there are some rules in Montessori. Children have to have order, they have to be in a framework where they can move, and then they have these step-by-step learning utensils.
Is this enough of a vision of Carol?
That's up to you. Whether
no, I can't tell because I can't see the monitor. We've shown, so I put the book down.
Anyway, she's a very strong, wonderful woman.
Yes, right. Yeah, but going with the Montessori. And she was an inspiration to you that way.
Yeah, and she brought it in. I wouldn't have never gone this good way if she wouldn't have appeared in the scene. That's why I think
good way.
I think she is heaven sent.
And are you talking about educating in Haiti and the other place? Are you talking about educating youth? I mean, like kindergarten, young children.
Montessori is not limited at early childhood.
Okay.
They even start even earlier than 3. But we had only 3 to 6. Okay. But if it's well done, we should also have primary school.
Very important time.
But we don't have the means, the financial means in our small organization to go further. We had tried it sometimes, but it's just, and there's such an overwhelming demand for what we are doing now.
I should think,
that we have all our resources.
Is it women more interested than men among the population?
95% women are doing what we're doing.
God bless the ladies, huh? Well, because they have a nurturing kind of thing that seems to be intrinsic to their way of being.
In our projects, gender equality is even...
built in.
Well, the men have to have a reason to complain because, but it's their fault.
Yeah,
No? The Haitian man, sometimes we have a few men in our courses, but they don't maintain. Anyway, Haiti wouldn't work without the women. The women carry the whole load.
I don't think the world would work if we didn't. In a very real sense, they're unsung, and the men are up there singing all the praises of themselves and everything with the egos and stuff.
We should be fair. There are some men who do material things, you know, and work, and artistic also. They're very artistic people in Haiti.
There are a couple of men that are worth taking a note of.
Yes.
Peter Hesse would be one I would suggest, you know.
Oh, well.
But it's very interesting. I think I like it very much. I read a good deal of the book, and the thing you're trying to do is set up a training for teachers of that, because then they can go with little resource, they can go and institute this way of educating the youth, and that's really, I mean, they're very young, the kindergarten age people. That's very important.
But our work is mainly helping to develop teachers.
Okay.
And then those who are successful, we help them a little to open a school. We've got 50 schools opened with our teachers. But these are not our schools.
No.
They belong to the Haitians. That's very important.
Okay. Okay, good.
No?
Yeah, yeah.
The ownership of these projects must be in the hands of those whom one wants to help.
How much finance must there be for that to be successfully integrated into a very poor economy like that?
We are not yet in the whole country. It's much cheaper than people think.
Okay, that's what I was thinking it might well be, because it's a matter of attitude.
It has to.
And then you could find a local, setting where you could do it and everything. But that's what I'm wondering.
I would very much like to meet Michelle Obama, because they are interested in children.
She is, yeah.
Since we like the Obamas.
You do like Obama.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I would like to encourage her to go on with this direction also in America. Because in America, Montessori is unfortunately seen predominantly for the better of people.
Okay.
Which is fine, but not enough.
Is it like in what they call progressive education? Could be tied to Tom Dewey?
It's just good education.
Tom Dewey, John Dewey and other people of...
I don't know what progressive is. Progressive is a subject which is
progressive
too vague for me.
Education is usually getting away from the disciplinary thing.
Oh, okay,
where people are sitting and you're doing rote things, and there's been a lot of that in the name of education to treat the poor.
The key word is child is in the center.
Child-centered. Okay, the person-centered. I think the idea of person-centered is democratic, in the best sense of bringing the best out. Education means to bring out, I believe, the Latin.
Yeah.
It is to draw out, and that's what it is, and it's there in the person.
And the good thing about these human beings is
nature,
the small human being, the child, learns because he wants to learn.
Yeah, they learn. You don't have to teach them. I mean, that if you just don't get in their way, children are learning like crazy. I think we're learning. As we come out of the womb, I think we're learning faster than ever, and it just all slows down when you get to be like us.
Scientifically proven even
now.
It
is, right. There's just learning is
no
incredible.
No question. Unfortunately, people who deal with these questions know this now.
Yeah.
But it's not yet mainstream knowledge how important these first years are.
Why haven't we got more Montessori or progressive education among the general society in, let's say, North America or Europe, for that matter, or the broader world?
That's a good question. I'm fighting to promote
Good
this.
For you. Good for you and Carol,
Yeah, the part of my work is, of course, to encourage people to be generally active with their visions.
Yes.
But the sort of nucleus of the work is indeed in, first of all, getting conscious, be conscious, globally conscious at least.
Globally conscious.
Globally conscious that good education has to start early and should be all around the world.
Well, that's a big challenge.
Why not in America?
Why not in America? I'm asking you, what do you think? Why not?
Well, America is a rich country.
Why is it not?
Well, wait a moment. I'm not knowledgeable enough to really be able to judge the American educational system.
Not only American,
profoundly.
the developed world, let's say, Europe. Well, China, is it used in China at
China
all?
has just ordered 100,000 Montessori schools.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
100,000?
100,000 Montessori schools.
So they
pay for it.
Sun Yat-sen
the group with whom I work,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also on very good terms with the American Montessori Society, and at the same time, I'm a member of the International. But I think this should really go together.
Yeah,
and
it's a big idea. 100,000 schools are going to be put up in China doing Montessori.
So about a year ago, they decided they sent around a team of Chinese looking around the world. What is a good system? And they decided for Montessori.
Well, that's really wonderful good news, is it not? Although I think that means they're going to soar past us as the leading power in the world because they're in touch with what the future requires.
Well, I guess
because you don't need robots anymore. You need people who can think creatively and be like that.
Why should
we are mired in history more than they are, perhaps?
Well, I wouldn't go there. I think the Chinese are very clever in finding what is useful for their country.
They're very practical, aren't they?
And for them,
so
China
Montessori
is the
practical. It's practical.
Yes.
A lot of people who are disciplinarians say it's not practical. Spare the rod. You know, you spoil the child.
The Chinese do what is good for China.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know when they will get to the point where they will also think globally. That's maybe a little bit further.
Maybe they have a little more capital.
But for the moment, there's an old Chinese tradition. China is the center for them.
Now, one of the problems in television is you only have an hour. We could talk to you for 16 hours.
It's a big subject.
Yes, it's a big subject, massive subject. Want to get just quickly, we got about 10 minutes left. They want to get quickly to the spiritual transformation that occurred to you personally, Peter Hesse, because that informed your life.
Very simple, because I cannot even talk too much about it, because it's very moving for myself.
Yeah.
I took me a long time to even dare to write about it and to talk about it.
Congratulations on getting it out, yeah.
No, I will only get out what is essential for encouraging people.
Okay.
I strongly believe, and that's what happened to me, if one asks inner questions about questions about what is my reason for being in this earth, what is the reason for us humans to be here, what are we supposed to do in this funny world?
Yeah, why are we here? The big question,
are we
philosophical
here?
questions.
Right. Well, it's also practical. I want to
know
why I'm
here. It's also religious and spiritual. Have given us answers.
May I correct you? I would say it's spiritual.
Okay.
It's not for me necessarily religion, because religion is more dogmatically embroidered and so on, but nothing against.
Yeah, but you got that from history. James Joyce said history is a nightmare from which I'm trying to awaken, and in a sense it infuses all of society, not only religion, but there are all kinds of systems that we've had that tried to keep people in order and keep a political class in power and all these kind of things that came out of history.
Okay.
It's not just spiritual.
No, I'm not against religions, for heaven's sake, because the religions have to come together. That's another story.
Yeah.
But the essence of it is across all religions.
Okay.
And I believe in
ecumenical.
At the least ecumenical. I mean,
including spiritual traditions that are secular based.
I have a very clear spiritual view at the moment, which is coming through. When you ask questions, you get answers.
Did you have an epiphany of some sort?
What is that?
Or something? That's an all at once or on the road to Jerusalem event that occurred at one moment.
Well, I got answers.
At one moment. Did it grow over a long period of time?
I'm not one of those who have on permanent track with the upper instance or the deeper instance. I got my answers when I needed them.
Okay.
And in moments when I didn't expect the answers.
That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's something which I treasure, which I first of all had difficulty to digest.
Maybe, or
not recognize, but to really
incorporate into your consciousness.
For many years I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, right.
And
I can see.
Then I had a deep experience which set me free. And
all at
in
once
my book,
event? Was that a thing that happened?
This was a 5-year process, really. It's funny. It started I know when it started, in October '89.
Okay.
Because I wrote a little.
October '89. That's 20 years ago.
Then it was with me. It started relatively late in my life.
Was it a specific date?
Yes.
October what?
Well, I have one on the paper. I have to check. I have it.
Yeah, okay.
I have the paper where when I woke up in the night. My initial message, which is now even in the book. And it was so obvious that this was not a dream. This was not. This was something.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And
that's what they call an epiphany. I believe.
Whatever they call it.
It's a good word.
Yeah. I know it was a message to me. And at least I accept it as such.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to follow it.
Okay, good. And you're doing it, and it's informing what you do in the real world.
Yeah, but it gives me freedom.
It gives you freedom.
All the freedom. It doesn't dictate anything. It just tells me my direction. And I have a big question. I always wonder whether my direction is not maybe something very general, but I have to be humble. I cannot really know whether what I have been told is really generalizable.
Right.
But I can tell you
the
first phrase.
Well, I think that there's a wisdom in what you just said, in that stance toward the universe.
But right now, since I'm free now, I can even use the first sentence of the first message is the whole, all, must grow through learning.
Okay.
The whole, and the whole is everything.
That's like
it's not just us, everything.
That includes the whole universe?
Yes.
Yeah, right. That's a holistic or comprehensive perception.
That's what I was told.
In your vision.
Yeah, and then I don't go into details, don't worry. But the next word, the next sentence, which was also given to me, I can also communicate. This is helped with love. Love helps in this path.
I think we've had a number of spiritual leaders through the years that have said that, right from Buddha to Jesus to all of the major wisdom schools have told us that. And you came upon it all by yourself.
But this is very normal. Everybody can.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right.
But I believe strongly, and that's why one of the purposes of my book,
right,
that our purpose is something like that. For me, it's to learn and to put this learning outwards. Okay. And to use this learning. That's why I say vision, from vision to action.
Right, from vision to action. You're a practical man.
Well, I mean, yes, I don't see it's a contradiction.
No.
This beautiful gift we have is freedom to use this guidance in a rational, good way. There are people who even go further and say, we don't even be rational, we just follow the guidance and do whatever is dictated from moment to moment. I don't go that far. For me, the rational thing that we have is also a gift.
It's a gift of Homo sapien. For a particular sense, we have a particular means of being able to take the measure of things and to use technology, too. We can extend technology out into the environment and make the world different than in an Eden-like sense as most of the creatures.
As long as the technology doesn't become self-purpose.
Self-purpose on its own,
but I mean, the world is fantastic.
Or it's also destructive. We have a tremendous destructive. You've experienced that in Germany.
Oh, yes.
Firebombing of Dresden, horrible things. All millions and millions and tens of millions killed.
My early childhood in Germany with all these strange family situations are for me a very strong, in looking back, additional motivation now. It's not, but the real push came from
that vision.
Grace.
Yeah, as grace. Okay, great. But Amazing. Do you know the song Amazing Grace?
Sure,
everybody loves it. Isn't that a great song? Isn't that a great song? Yes, that's the kind of thing that can be moving. Let me ask you, we only got a couple of minutes left. Are you optimistic for the human prospect?
There are possibilities which are even discussed, and I have recently read scenarios, and they look pretty bad. The normal ones. But there's also one possibility which depends on us. If we pull up our strengths together, if we become conscious and we pull our strengths together globally.
By we, you mean the whole humanity.
Humanity.
Yeah.
And then we have a good chance of getting...
Good chance of what?
Of making the world more balanced.
Make the world more balanced. Do you think we may be at a moment of qualitative transformation?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
That's big. We've been here 200,000 years, Homo sapiens.
Well, it has never moved as fast as it moves now.
No, it goes faster and faster, and it's going exponentially now.
And
it's the technology.
Yeah. And it will get terrible, climate alone, and other influences.
Also the weapons. I think the weapon systems are horribly beyond what they even were in the Second World War.
It becomes terrible if we don't go and change it.
Yeah. So
Change it means pull our strengths together.
Well, in evolution, they have a thing called punctuated equilibrium. You have it's the evolution of species. In a species, there will be quantitative change within a system, and then there is that all at once. It happens very quickly. Qualitative. That's new.
Yeah.
A new appearance.
Well, we
may be at a time like coming at the end of a birth canal. We're coming out into a new relationship to the cosmos than what we've been throughout history, and we may be at that time. And there's great responsibilities, and it's very frightening in some ways, but it's also very hopeful that we may be, if we can find our way through to what the future requires in names of Montessori justice and things you're doing.
Global consciousness, and even cosmic consciousness as a background, and then action accordingly.
Well, perhaps if we get global consciousness right to where everybody is in a certain sense liberated from the scourges and the poverty and the things and realize their full potential within an ecological context, we may come into a synergistic or resonating relationship to cosmos at a level transcendent to what we've been collectively as a human society through all of human history. We may be at a time of birth to a new relationship.
We have a chance. We have a chance. We can
do it.
Exciting
time to be alive.
And that's what Obama said.
Yeah, that's
why it's so important.
He's got that possibility, and it's in our hands. And I think a lot of that is in your hands, sir. I thank you. We've run out of time.
Thank you.
Your pleasure, Peter Hesse. He's here briefly in New York. Really glad we could get him so quickly here to go over